I call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. and confirm all members are present. I'll begin the meeting reading the Township Land Acknowledgement. The Township of Adjala-Tosorontio is situated on the lands within the Treaty 18, being the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, including the Ojibwa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. This land is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We acknowledge that Indigenous peoples as stewards of the land, and we honor their resilience as well as their culture, and of our shared respect for the lands, plants, animals, waterways which sustain us all. We recognize the injustices against Indigenous people and are mindful that the decisions of the government impact our shared land and all of the inhabitants. We commit to reconciliation as a journey, foster Indigenous cultural awareness and education opportunities, establish respectful and healthy relations with the Indigenous people, and continue to steward the land and its inhabitants, and to cultivate an inclusive community for all. Okay, next item of business is the adoption of the agenda. The recommendation reads that the agenda for the Audit Committee meeting held on Wednesday, August 5th be adopted as presented. Can I get a mover? Councillor Borzos, a seconder. Councillor Meadows, any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Move on to item 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest. The next item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Item 4, adoption of the minutes. The recommendation reads that the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held on Monday, August 11th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Can I get a mover? Councillor Meadows, seconder. Councillor Borzos, any questions on those minutes? Seeing none. All in favor? And that's carried. Move on to item 5, which is reports and correspondence. Correspondence from Sue Bragg, Baker Tilly, SGB LLP, dated December 18th, 2025, regarding the interim audit of December 31st, 2025 financial statements. The recommendation reads that the correspondence from Sue Bragg, I guess that was the same thing, Sue Bragg, Baker Tilly, SGB LLP, dated December 18th, 2025, regarding interim audit of December 31st, 2025 financial statements be received. Can I get a mover? Councillor Meadows, second by Councillor Borzos. Any questions on that? Seeing none. All in favor? And that is carried. And we'll move to 5.2. The recommendation reads that the draft audited financial statement for the year 2025 be received, and that the Audit Committee recommends that Council approve the draft audited financial statements for the year of 2025. Can I get a mover? Well, can we get movers and seconders and then discuss it, or do you want to discuss it?
It needs to be on the floor for discussion.
So movers. Councillor Borzos, second. Seconder.
Sorry, can we back up?
Sure. Did I go too fast? Too far?
Correspondence from Sue Bragg, should we not be listening to her correspondence first?
Well, I believe,
Prior to the meeting? We already, we moved it.
if I floored it.
To bring it on the floor.
Okay, sorry. Did I go too fast? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking for direction.
Through the chair to Councillor Meadows. So the committee did move that item on the floor and did already carry the vote on that item. I would recommend that the current item on the floor is the full financial audited statements. But if the committee does have any questions regarding the initial correspondence, those could be asked at this time too, as that interim audit does affect the final results as well.
Sorry, my apologies. So we will listen to the report from Sue Bragg.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have a copy of the draft financial statements in front of me. if there are any questions about the interim letter, that's not a problem to discuss as well. Would you like to discuss the letter first or the financial statements?
I guess you can do the letter first, obviously, sure.
Did you have any specific questions? Or do you want me just to explain what it was? I can do that.
I just had one question with regards to that, and you pretty much answered my question with regards to the reasoning why you can't include distribution to third parties. There's just one comment on here. It says, "The comments and concerns expressed herein do not have a material effect on the municipality's financial statements, and as such, our opinion in respect to these matters is not qualified." Can you just, so people, layman people will understand what that means, matters is not qualified?
So are you referencing the audit report or the letter?
The letter.
Letter.
Okay, I don't have a copy of the letter in front of me.
Can I, do you
but-
want it, or do you want to have a look at one of them?
That would be-
Sorry, right here, it's written in this paragraph, matters not qualified.
So Baker Tilly National spends a lot of money on lawyers to make sure they get the wording of these letters right, so I hope I know the answer. So if these council should not be used for including districts. Right, okay, so this reference is to the interim letter. So every year we come and do two visits to the municipality, one in the fall, which is more of a control testing, systems testing focus, and then we come back at year end, of course, to look at all the year end figures and all the substantial transactions that take part throughout the year. So this letter was issued as a result of the interim audit, and it was a clean letter. We did not identify anything that needed to be brought to the attention of council or management. And so this paragraph I absolutely love. So page 2 and 3 in the bottom right-hand corner is the standard wording for the independent auditor's report. It is a clean audit opinion, certainly. And you'll note that these financial statements are still referenced as drafts until they are approved, of course, by the audit committee and then further to that by council. And we do have this on the agenda for council on September 9th. And my business partner, Alex Jackson, will be here. I will be on my way to Nova Scotia that week, and he's going to take the meeting for me. Rest assured, he's done lots of these presentations. He also is the engagement or the partner that has been involved with the detailed review of this file for a number of years. Okay. So then to the statement of financial position, which is page 4 in the bottom right-hand corner, the statement of financial position. And a lot of the figures are pretty similar to last year. You'll notice that taxes receivable are up, and we've discussed this the last couple of years. It's certainly a trend that we're seeing across several different municipalities in Simcoe County. But also important to note that these figures, both the 2025 figure of 3.3 million and last year's figure of 2.6 million, are at a point in time. They are as at December 31st. So by the middle of January or today or 2 months after year end, the numbers could have looked very different. But we definitely are seeing a trend of taxes receivable going up. And part of that is just due to the fact that, the assessments in the municipality are increasing. So of course taxes are increasing, which means taxes receivable are increasing. But I also do think that there's a bit of an economic impact happening right now. People are finding it a little bit harder to pay in many areas. And certainly the municipalities in Simcoe County, I don't think, are any exception to that. Net financial assets are up about 735,000. You can see that subtotal about halfway down the page, 2.1 million compared to about 1.3 million last year. But of course, a lot of that is the increase in taxes receivable. So. For non-financial assets, we have tangible capital assets. You see that there at 58 million, just shy of 59 million. That's all the bricks and mortar and roads and infrastructure owned by Adjala-Tosorontio. And important to note that figure is the historical cost figure amortized over the estimated useful life. So that, approaching $59 million does not mean what it would cost to replace all of the assets of the municipality. It does not mean what the fair market value of all of the property is. It is based on historical cost, amortized over estimated useful life. There were about $4.2 million of additions to tangible capital assets during 2025. Those included quite a bit of road work. We vouched several large invoices to Lisbon Paving as an example, and they totaled over, almost $1.5 million. There was a new fire pumper tanker purchase that was over $1 million. There was also a new tandem plow truck, and that was in my notes at $232,000, but that doesn't seem like enough. Was that just a deposit maybe, or would that have been the total?
Oh, sorry, for what?
For a tandem plow truck?
That, it sounds like it was just the truck and not all the.
Yeah, not all the
Parts being
attachments.
added.
Okay, that makes sense.
What's that question? Go
Of
ahead.
course.
Yeah, sorry, we were talking about tangible assets, and I noticed in our on page 11 here, some of the tangible assets that we have, buildings 30 to 50 years, equipment 5 to 20 years, which is normal, roads 40 to 85 years, which I have to question that. Water and wastewater, 10 to 100 years, again, that is way off. Bridges, 80 to 100 years, again, that one's off. Communications, computers and hardware is 3 to 7 years, yeah, I can live with that one, but these ones with 100 years, 85 years, it's off. So what are we doing to rectify that? Because those, we can't have our assets out 100 years. We're talking a 50-year difference in
So when the municipality adopted tangible capital assets a number of years ago, it would have set a tangible capital asset policy at that time. These estimated useful lives were adopted then. That's not to say they shouldn't be reviewed again. It is something that we've recommended to a number of our municipal clients. But important to note, like that, those 100-year amounts, I'd have to delve back into the details of it, but that might be something very small. It may not be the millions of dollars you have invested that's all being amortized over 100 years. There's a range there, so.
Well, I guess the issue I have with having these assets at those particular dates is we don't have 100-year-old bridges that are nowadays that are going to last 100 years. They're lucky if they're lasting 50 years. So we're building a false table, and I would like to see it in this audit statement or whatever, that we look at changing those assets because they are wrong. And I don't want to put this statement forwards with wrong information in it.
Well, I don't think the information in the statement is incorrect. I think it is in accordance with the policy that the municipality has adopted to date. I don't disagree with you that it's probably time to look at the tangible capital asset policy and reevaluate those useful lives. But I don't think that it misrepresents the information that's here. It's quite clear to the reader what useful lives are being used for amortization.
Well, are we not, when we go to a bank loan and we get a bank loan and they look at our tangible assets, and let's say some of our assets are at 50 years and we got them down as a 100-year length of time that we have that asset. So they're saying, well, that asset's 50% of what, meanwhile, it has to be replaced in 3 years. So that tangible assets loaning ability, I mean,
Yeah, I don't
and
know
we're
exactly
taking- we're
what
taking
the banks
huge-
look at when they're evaluating.
no, but they do. They
for loans.
evaluate your assets, and especially with some of the figures I've seen in here, where we're on the hook with like when we took out the grant money, we went to have a cosigner for the assets of the township for a $31 I think it was 33 million or whatever.
Through the chair, Councilor Miles, you're referring to the grants?
Yeah, the grants. Like, we got to get that grant, we had to get a waiver from the bank saying that, it's written right in the financial statements here somewhere. When we get to it, I'll point it out. But I'm just saying, when we're looking at doing these grant funding projects, they look at our tangible assets, and if our assets aren't what they're supposed to be, then we could be in some big trouble down the road. So I would just like to see it fixed.
Councillor Borges?
Yeah, I actually, thank you, through the chair. I was actually going to ask you, I didn't catch the schedule there, but is there a CRA
Get your
approved?
mic on.
Sorry. Is there a CRA approved table for these type of things, or is it all individually determined by municipalities?
Yeah, so there is a CRA approved list that applies to taxable entities, but that doesn't apply to municipalities.
So they don't even have a guideline of sort for
No.
capital?
No, and when the ministry brought in the new rules about tangible capital assets, they didn't provide a guideline either.
Okay, thank you.
It's entirely up to each municipality,
I was
which
just
makes it difficult.
Councillor Meadows' point, like, I mean, 100, even 50 years for a road, like, I mean, some of our roads don't last 5 years. Sorry, I mean, that's the reality of it.
It's the reality.
And so we could go back and repave it year after year after year after year. So, yeah, this is definitely, I mean, maybe for a dirt road, 100 years is okay, when horse and buggies were running around, but, yeah, we need to redo this. Thank you, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair. Yeah, just what I was saying earlier, when Brent, with regards to letters of, it was letters of credit from the banks with regards to the loan or the grant funding we got. As per various developments, the municipality has received letters of credit to cover the costs of completing these projects. Letters of credit held by the municipality at December 31st, 2025 were $36,259,792. In 2024, $31,826,325. So I'm just saying, like, somebody's banking on us, you know, on our assets that we have in this municipality to make sure our assets are at a tangible rate.
Collateral.
Yeah, as collateral.
Sorry, through the chair to Councilor Meadows. The letters of credit are what we hold for developments. So it would mostly relate, for example, to Tribute. We hold securities until that development is complete and we sign off. We're holding on to securities, because if they don't complete the work, we can draw on these letters of credit.
Yeah, but when we went to get the grant funding, we also had to get a letter of credit to support the fact that we have a $27 million shortfall in that funding, maybe even up to $32 million. We would have to have some sort of line of credit backing that project if we didn't have any funding to, like, when we signed that contract, they had to make sure that we were able to have that money at hand to build that infrastructure. They're not gonna give you a grant for 65 million, not knowing that where the other 27 or 31 million is gonna be coming from.
Through the chair to Councilor Meadows, if you're referring to the grants for Ever in the development,
That's
I'm
correct.
not aware of any requirements for
Well, it's
from
in
the
the
province
Well,
for.
Well, we had to have some sort of collateral to make up the shortfall. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, that's why I was brought up the assets. Anyway, go ahead.
Do you have a question? Okay.
Yes.
Councillor Borges.
Through the chair, since you came and visit us, might as well make good use out of your time. No, I was just curious, how would our financial position change if we were to, let's say, right now, take that schedule and the larger roads, bridges and that sort of stuff, we were to cut that in half, how
To
dramatically?
cut the useful life in half?
Correct.
I mean, it depends on a lot of different factors, but it could increase, like your annual amortization expense was 2.2 million in 2025. It could double that in theory.
And that's kind of, I think, the point is that maybe my understanding of accounting principles is somewhat limited, but what I gather from this is if we were to reduce the amortization time or period, that would actually show that we have less money in a bank. You know, I mean, very simplified.
Yeah, it's not gonna show less money in the bank because amortization isn't a cash
No,
transaction.
I didn't mean like in the bank. What I meant is,
Or
okay,
worth
our
less.
financial position would be weaker, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes,
Because
yes.
our total net worth would be a whole lot less or significantly less because they reduced the amount of amortization time, which means that perhaps some of the bridges that are still on the books for another 20 years left in them now would be zero, so that would mean their value is $0,
That's
as
right.
opposed to $200,000, just using an arbitrary.
The accumulated surplus would definitely be lower
So.
if your
And I
amortization
think-
period was reduced.
And to this point, I think this is a very important and good exercise for us to, if nothing else comes of today's meeting, this was worth my while just to see that it's there, that schedule is there, and how, I guess, outdated it is and how inaccurate it is considering what the reality is out there in terms of usefulness and so on. So, yes, thank you for pointing this out because this is a good thing. We need to change this because I think the next year's audit will be, or should be significantly different. Not necessarily for the better for the township, but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You too. It's okay. Teamwork, no?
And not to belabor this point, but note 3 that Councillor Meadows referred to are letters of credit held by the municipality,
Right.
not debt that we have committed to the bank. So I just wanted to make sure that we were okay on that. So on the statement of financial position, I think we had finished talking about tangible capital assets. And the only other item I wanted to mention there is that prepaid expenses and inventory were up. As you're all well aware, we changed our insurance during the year, and we're now part of the county, I don't want to call it the county policy, the county program. County pool is perfect. And so we do have higher prepaid insurance, and you can see that reflected in the figure there. So just keep in mind a couple of figures. So that ending balance of $61 million in the 2025 column, we will see that number again as we're going through, so just keep that number in mind. And to that point, on the very next page, the statement of operations, again, at the bottom of the 2025 column, you can see that same $61 million figure there, of course by design, not by accident. In terms of revenues and expenses, I don't think any big surprises here. You can see that taxation revenue was up about $1 million year over year, largely due to assessment. Government grants were about $1.4 million higher than budgeted. It's very common to see in municipalities that we're pretty conservative when budgeting those grants because you don't always know if they're coming or not. In terms of expenses, that $16.6 million figure that you see there for actual 2025 includes the $2.2 million of amortization expense we talked about earlier. Salaries and benefits were up about $700,000, and insurance was up as well due to joining the new county pool.
Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. With regards to, I was talking to Mr. Anderchuk earlier, just so that I know, the expenses for environmental services, that includes water and wastewater, is that correct?
Yes,
Both?
that is correct. And if you look at note 22 on page 22, It explains that it includes the service provided to the municipality for drinking water and the process and to clean sewage and water system meets all provincial standards.
So that's the total amount we spent?
Also includes waste disposal, garbage pickup as well.
Oh, and waste disposal pickup?
Yep. So if you look at paragraph D and note 22,
That's a county service, is it not? Well, I know we pay for it through our, well, the taxpayers pay for it through their taxes, but, isn't that correct?
That's correct. We don't have any
We don't have
expenses for,
for that. It's all through our taxation. So why would our waste?
residents will pay through the taxes that they're charged from the county for waste disposal. It's not part of our expenses, and it's not part of our tax revenue. It's part of the county's. County oversees waste disposal, and the taxes, the SIPCO, the taxes that we are obligated to.
Why would that be on our?
But it's just more of a general statement that.
Well, it's a general
Under
statement.
environment.
It's a general statement that shouldn't be there because we don't, the county is, looks after our garbage disposal. We don't look after our garbage disposal.
so that point can easily be taken out, but I thought that the most municipalities still have to pay something related to commercial waste or something, and that's why we've always kept that line in there.
Commercial waste pays
But
for
we can
commercial
take it out.
waste.
Through the chair to council, we can look at it, amending the.
I would
the final.
appreciate it because it's
So
it's kind of
there's less
putting a
confusion.
false,
Misleading.
it's a very misleading. So,
No, that's easily removed.
okay, thank you. And one more
Yeah,
question. With regards to the health services, what was the actual 57,861 for? Is that what we give to the hospital for,
I think that's
I don't know.
care and maintenance of the cemetery, is it not?
No.
We do pay for cemetery maintenance.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be under health services. They're dead. Not health,
They're not healthy.
it's not health services. That's,
That's where it is, that's where,
that would be under, recreational and cultural services, not, health services.
I think that when you have to prepare the FIR for the ministry, they have cemeteries under health services, and that's why we keep it consistent with that. Because they also get a copy of the audited financial statements along with the FIR, and so it just keeps it consistent with the FIR.
Can we look into that? Because we budgeted 7,500 in 2025, yet our actual is 57,861. That's, something's wrong here.
I can speak to that.
Sure.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Locks, to Councillor Meadows. That's due to the grass cutting tender. It was previously being reflected under Parks and Rec, and so that was better reflected about the actual cost of the maintenance of cemeteries every year. This year, we divided it out and actually put it under the cemetery line. So it was an approved tender by council. It just was all being reflected under Parks and Rec, and for better accounting practices and transparency, we brought it over to cemeteries.
I recall that.
Supplemental?
Sure.
So all our grass cutting is under health services now, or just the cemetery portion?
Through the chair to Councillor Meadows, just the cemetery portion.
Just cemetery.
Before it was all under Parks and Rec, and we've pulled out the cemetery portion and are now reflecting it under the cemetery line.
So it costs us 57,000 for the cemeteries to be cut?
Correct, care and maintenance of the cemeteries. In there, you'll also see some maintenance. We do routine maintenance on the trees and the fencing as well. Spring cleanup after the winter with the debris.
And monument repair is also.
I think, it's just that, I look at, what was budgeted, and they were way off the mark on their budget for that portion, so,
I believe that's when they did change from it all being grass cutting was one, and then it switched over, so obviously it doesn't reflect very good on paper, but.
Well,
that
we
was
should have,
just-
yeah,
that
but
was
we should have caught that when.
Well, I
when the
believe we
budget was
budgeted
in.
first, and then the change came after, so that's why it skewed the
Yes,
numbers.
it was all budgeted for under Parks and Rec, but just to better reflect the actual costs, we've
Now it's
brought it
on
over
that
to
s-
cemetery. So
on
it was
that line.
all budgeted for in the overall operating budget. We've just brought it over to cemeteries to better reflect the actual cost.
And how many cemeteries do we have in the township?
We have
Thank you, through the chair to Councillor Meadows. We care for the maintenance of six
Six?
inactive cemeteries, and the cemetery are under the control of the township.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I believe before 7,500 covered the cemetery, and then the grass cutting became part of that bill.
On this schedule, they moved it under recreation and cultural, so on, so.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, Sue, continue on.
We're only on page 3.
Sorry.
No, that's what we're here for.
The pages that we're covering have the most meat in them, so it's, we're doing great. And in fact, I think we can go to the next page. The statement of change in net financial assets, this is just an arithmetic exercise to get from the annual surplus figure that you saw on page 5 to the amount that you see of net financial assets on page 4, down to the 2.1 million. So nothing earth-shattering there. The statement of cash flow, again, you'll see that $11,700, reflected in the statement of financial position. Just high level, we had net cash from operations of about 4.7 million. We spent about 4.2 million on tangible capital assets. We paid down debt of about $400,000. It also shows 914,000 coming in from change in investments, but really you need to look at the investment figure in conjunction with the cash figure. And they, if you add the two of them together year over year, they only changed by about 120,000. So that 914 basically became part of your ending cash balance.
Yep, sorry. Councillor Borzell. Yeah.
Just a quick question perhaps to the treasurer. I'm just curious, what did we sell to make $471,000? In here it says gain on disposal of tangible capital assets. What did we dispose for $500,000, almost?
Some of our equipment.
Well, if it's amortized, then it's worth nothing, then how does it worth $500,000?
Mr. Anderchuk?
Through the chair, yeah, we do sell, we would have sold various equipment throughout the year.
And it totals to almost $500,000, that's how much we sell?
That's a lot.
I can get back to you with a detailed
Yeah,
breakdown
just
of
curious
that.
more than anything else, just
Yeah,
I'd like to,
I'll get back to you with a detailed breakdown.
It's a little
Yeah.
high.
thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, thank you very much.
Okay, Sue.
Okay, next page, the statement of remeasurement gains and losses. We've only been looking at this statement for the last couple of years. And that $69,000 basically represents the difference between the cost base of our investments and what the fair market value is as of today. So the investments include some bonds, and they often, while they're not a bad investment, their fair market value is always less until they get closer to maturity. So, nothing that you should be worried about on that at all. Starting on page 9, we get into the notes of the financial statements. And I have a couple of comments. I don't want to belabor each and every one of them, but note 2 on the top of page 14. Important to note that of that $11.7 million cash balance, the lion's share of that is restricted for the obligatory reserve funds. So there's only sort of unrestricted cash of about $842,000.
Sorry, I got a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Meadows.
Through the chair. Could we go back to page 9, please? item number C, revenue recognition. You have in there, included in user fees are wastewater and water usage fees. These fees are recognized as revenue when the service is rendered. Other user fees are recognized on an accrual basis as they become available and measurable. So are these fees not measurable? Is that what you're trying to, these particular fees that we're doing right now aren't measurable?
Sorry, are you referring to the wastewater and water usage fees, or?
Item C, yeah, included water and wastewater usage fees. Okay? Are you saying currently they're not measurable, those fees, or?
No, what that's referring to is that user fees include wastewater, water usage, and then several other user fees. That third sentence is referring to those other fees, not water and wastewater.
Okay. And then if you go to item D, deferred revenue, obligatory reserve funds, revenue restricted by legislation, regulation, or agreement and not available for general municipal purposes is reported as deferred revenue on the statement of financial position. The revenue is reported on the statement of operations in the year in which it is used for that specific purpose. Why are our water and wastewater rates not in deferred revenue? Because it's a legislated revenue. Only water and wastewater users are supposed to be charged for water and wastewater. And currently, the way it's set up, it's not. So why?
So paragraph D refers to things like development charges, OC funding, funds that have not been used yet. Water and wastewater, in my mind, are a little bit different because every year you have all sorts of expenses to offset those user fees, that revenue. And then there's always a difference, of course, between how much the water and wastewater makes, and that gets, either put into the reserve or taken away from the reserve.
Right, but that should be, it is a legislated usage for the rates, and when something like that happens, we then turn around and charge the people. I mean, it should be a deferred revenue. That's the way I look at it anyways. Like, it's legislated, only water and wastewater should have to pay for that, not the whole community. So it should be a deferred revenue.
Well, I do know that every municipality, and Adjala-Tosorontio isn't any exception, they do track those revenues and expenses for water and wastewater separately, so that they are, I don't want to say self-fulfilling, but they do just offset each other. Certainly water and wastewater revenue is not used to offset other operating expenses of the municipality. I can tell you that other municipalities in Ontario do not consider water and wastewater deferred revenue. And certainly for your municipality, your discretionary reserve fund for water and wastewater is actually in a deficit. So you need to take in as much money as you can to get that back into a positive.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's we're running a deficit in our water and wastewater. People who are not on water and wastewater are having to pay for it through the loan. Listen, you can rob Peter to pay Paul. It's coming out of the taxpayer, every taxpayer's pocket, and it's coming out of the. And it's
going to be repaid.
And it's coming out of the people who are paying the current water and wastewater as well. So they're getting billed twice for it. So to me, it's totally wrong the way this is happening. So. And Brent and I, we've had discussions on that on several occasions for the past 12 years. So
have you and I.
Yeah, so have you and I. So and I feel sorry for Brent and because him and staff are stuck with this conundrum over water and wastewater, and they have been for years.
So my understanding as the auditor, and Brent may correct me, is that the interest related to that debt for water and wastewater is allocated to that department, so that the other taxpayers that do not have water and wastewater service are not paying for that. I'm gonna turn it over to Brent to see if he agrees with me or not, but
Mr. Anderchuk.
Well, with respect to we're talking about the internal loan.
Yes, the internal loan, that's, what, 5 million,
It's about
500
5
and
million, so, we do,
some thousand? Yep.
for budget purposes, water and wastewater revenues only pay for water and wastewater services and expenses. At the end of the year, and this has been going on long before I was here, the water and wastewater revenues don't cover the water and wastewater expenses. We have in the last few years borrowing from the working fund reserve, and it's borrowing. This money is going to be repaid.
Okay, and the working fund is paid for by who?
The working fund, the money that has been allocated has come from the surplus in the operating budget. I can also tell you, previously to myself becoming treasurer, the deficit in water and wastewater was actually paid for out of different reserves. I can't quote you which ones, but prior to me joining, if there was an overall deficit in the water or wastewater.
And who pays for the operating budget each year? All the taxpayers, correct? So all the taxpayers pay for the operating budget. The overages from the operating budget are going into the working fund, and the working fund is going to pay for the water and the wastewater.
On an internal loan that's getting.
On an
paid back.
internal loan, on an internal loan.
We can do
No,
this
but I'm
every
just
year
saying-
and go over this.
Yeah, but nobody wants
But
to
this
say
is-
it. Nobody wants to sit here on this council and say that it's the taxpayers that are paying for
But
it.
then they're not paying for it, they're lending money to the township to cover these expenses, which money will be repaid. It's a loan from the taxpayers, if you wanna put it that way.
Can we have a date when it's gonna be paid back to the taxpayers then?
I mean, I don't have all the books in front of me, but.
Can we have some sort of date when the taxpayers are gonna get a check to
I think
get?
we're getting off
Yeah,
topic here anyway, so.
Well,
we're
it's not
discussing
in
this.
here, so anyway, go ahead.
Carry on, Sue.
okay, where were we? We were on.
Page 10, I guess.
We were on, I was up to note 2 on page 14. And I'm going to push you ahead to note 8 on page 16. Both note 8 and note 9. Anytime you pick up a financial statement, municipal or otherwise, you want to look for a note that references contingencies or lawsuits and commitments. These notes have just been updated for the current year. They're not new. They certainly were in the statements last year, but just to bring them to your attention. And the next note I'd like to talk about is note 16 at the top of page 20. You've all heard me year after year talk about that this is my favorite note. And it comes back to that $61.4 million figure that we saw on page 4 of the financial statements.
Sorry,
And
what page?
Page 20.
20.
Note 16 at the very top.
Accumulated surplus.
Yeah, the accumulated
Oh,
surplus
there,
note.
yeah, accumulated, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
so that's that same $61.4 million that we've seen a couple times in the financial statements. So important to note that of that 61.4, 53 almost $8 million is invested in tangible capital assets. There's about just shy of 5.5 million in reserves and reserve funds. And then you've got your breakdown at the very top there of the general area taxation surplus with the unfunded liabilities for the asset retirement obligations and the employee future benefits. So just important to note, especially with it being a campaign year, important for people to know that, you know, the municipality does not have $61.4 million of reserves or cash or any of those things. It's broken down in these amounts. And then last but not least, I just wanted to just, in general terms, talk about the schedules at the back. Schedule 1 is on page 23. And this gives you a detailed breakdown of the reserves, the discretionary reserve funds, as well as the obligatory reserve funds. Schedule 2 and 3 gives you more details on the tangible capital assets. Schedule 2 on page 24 breaks down the tangible capital assets between land, buildings, equipment, vehicles, and so on. Schedule 3 on page 25 segments the tangible capital assets between departments: general government, protection, transportation, environmental. And then last but not least, Schedule 4 is the schedule of segmented revenues and expenses, and it shows a comparative of the revenues and expenses by department 2025 compared to 2024. And those figures that you see there at the bottom of the 2025 and 2024 columns on the far right, 2.5 million and 3.2 million, those tie back into page 5 to the statement of operations.
Councilor Meadows?
Yeah. Brent, just got a question for you. With all two capital, that's all the brackets down there going into the reserves, is that, which funds are they coming from?
Sorry,
Is that-
what page are you discussing?
Oh, sorry, page 23, Schedule 1.
Okay.
And everything that's in the bracket under, I think there's 2,323,431. Is that coming, would that be coming out of our working fund?
Through the chair to Councilor Meadows. No, the 2.3 million is for payment from the reserves for the various capital projects, and the funding sources for those numbers in brackets is in the reserve line. So,
So
for
those,
example, for the fire department, we have $915,000, and that is funding for coming out of the fire reserve to fund fire capital projects.
oh, okay. Oh,
For the working fund,
Working fund is,
working fund, we funded capital projects from the working fund of about $19,000.
okay. Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Casey?
That's the end of my comments, but I'm happy to entertain further questions, and of course, all the difficult ones will be directed to the treasurer.
Of course. So is there any further questions?
I just have one on
Of course, yeah.
page 16. I was just wondering, Brent, you mentioned that with regards to the contracts, with regards to Colgan are separate than from the other ones for Aqua. How's that, like our contract for Aqua, for the Colgan wastewater treatment plant is $453,815 plus a 17.65 management fee and an annual reconciliation to actual charges, which we talked about earlier, which we're getting a refund back of $141,000. What's the water agreement stipulated an annual price of $56,800?
Through the chair to Councilor Meadows, the $56,000 is, I consider it an addendum with Aqua, so that's for the additional, they're charging above the original contract for the additional infrastructure that was installed in by Tribute.
Because
There's more infrastructure for them to maintain.
Okay, so,
And that will, my understanding is, the contract with Aqua will be renegotiated, so there's just one contract.
okay, so when, like, this is a 5-year term for this wastewater treatment agreement with Aqua. So it doesn't end until October 27th, 2029. So we haven't assumed the wastewater treatment plant yet, have we?
Correct.
So if we haven't assumed it, or how can we bind in a contract with them for that wastewater treatment plant for that length of time? You know what I mean? Because we haven't assumed the plant yet.
Correct. So I'm sorry, what is your question?
I guess my question is, how can we have an agreement till October 27th, 2029? Because I'm sure we're going to be assuming that plant soon, but we might not have Aqua, or we may not assume it. We don't know, so it's not our plant, I guess is what I'm getting at. So how can we have a contract with something that's not ours?
Well, we have the main contract with Aqua, I believe. And then we have a separate contract for the Colgan wastewater treatment plant.
I guess what I'm saying is, why are the taxpayers paying for let's say something breaks down there, maintenance costs for the wastewater treatment plant when we don't own it?
Well, we are also collecting the revenue for the wastewater treatment
To
plant.
say, is it being recovered? You recover it from the developer or
Well,
somewhere.
The way the
No, but I'm saying, like, if there's a maintenance, let's
we
say
are collecting Aqua is maintaining the plant, and we are collecting the revenue that's being generated from the
and
wastewater.
we're paying for any thing that breaks down in that plant right now? Or is,
My understanding, because, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is, since we haven't assumed the plant, if something breaks down, it's the responsibility of the developer.
so anything,
operating and
any
maintenance-
maintenance, because I'm just curious, because it says in here, with regards to operations and maintenance. So if we're paying for maintenance,
We are.
then,
But maintenance is not the same as repair. Maintenance is
Upkeep.
upkeep, just to make sure that the filter that's worth $50 is okay.
there's no filters in there for $50, they're $1 million. So
Well,
that's
it's not
why
a
I'm kind of
million bucks,
concerned
but
when we're
it's not a
gonna be
million
paying
bucks.
for maintenance.
Yeah, well, the way I read this is that we probably had to have an obligation towards the province to enter into a maintenance agreement with Aqua, because the system is running, but then all the repair costs are being forced or paid for by the developer. That's kind of how I read it. And then these terms, so that the contract terms and the cost of the contract is being funded by the revenue that comes in from the people who live in Colgan, who pay the monthly sewage fees.
Is there any way I can get a copy of that agreement? Or is that not?
You would have signed off on the agreement, but I can forward a copy of the agreements.
I would appreciate that, thank you.
Now, is the confusion there because all of the waste and wastewater systems? I understand there's a stipulation for Colgan there, but
There's two
the
of them,
5-year term.
because we already
too.
had.
You're right, but the 5-year term is in a generality of.
Just Colgan. That's what I'm,
Because the
I
previous
understand where
five-
you're coming from. I'm wondering if this statement is
off.
general 5 years, including what's going on.
If you read the entire paragraph there, it does state that there is there are two contracts we are discussing.
Correct.
The first one from January 22 to December 30 or 26 is for what was before Colgan. Naturally, because it was dated 2022, it couldn't capture Colgan back then, because there was no Colgan in 2022, right? So that's why I think instead of breaking that contract so close to the expiration date, the township just entered into a new contractual agreement with Aqua just for Colgan specifically. That's how I read it.
Yeah, well, I'd just like to,
Well, we can get clarification.
Clarification,
anyways,
yeah,
and 100%.
that's it.
Do you have any other concerns?
Good, thank you.
So I guess from our discussion earlier, we're going to change the language on the tangible assets?
Yeah. I hope so.
I think for that, we need to change policy.
I just want to,
The only change I noted to the draft financial statement is to remove the last sentence in note 22D. And it reads, "It also consists of providing waste disposal to citizens." That is coming out. That's the only change to the audited financial statement that I gathered from our discussion.
okay.
Like personally,
And ideally, we then need to look into
the assets.
the wording on the assets
For
of what-
future,
Capitalization scale.
like, could we put that as a motion or an amendment to the motion, Robin, that, when it's brought to council, to look into that for the next audit?
Madam Clerk?
Through the chair to Councillor Meadows, I would say the council meeting would be the most appropriate place because, as the auditor has indicated, it is a change in policy. So
Right.
at the time, accept the financials for this year and then provide direction to staff to review the tangible assets
Right.
going forward.
Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, just, so to that point, through the chair to Madam Clerk, could we get a copy of that policy? I don't know if that's available, so that we see exactly what we are dealing with and what's in that policy that we are
Changing.
proposing
What
to
needs to
change.
be changed or
Yes, we can have that, the treasurer, we can have the treasurer circulate that to
Thank you,
you
sir.
for information.
Thank you.
perfect.
Perfect.
All right, if there's no further questions, thank you, Sue. Nice to see you once a year.
Thank you, Sue.
So where were we here? Item 5.2? Okay. 5.2, so I had Counselor Borzos, I believe, moved it, seconder, Counselor Meadows. And the recommendation reads that the draft audited financial statements for the year 2025 be received, and that the audit committee recommends that council approve the draft audited financial statements for the year 2025.
Amended.
Any further
Shouldn't it,
I
shouldn't it?
think that what Councillor Meadows suggested is that to put an amendment to this statement there, that pending.
Well, ideally, this
Well, this should be.
This,
this
yeah,
financial statement should be received, and then we're going to change policies
policy.
coming further
For the next council meeting,
for the next.
for the council
Correct.
meeting. This is just to bring this forward.
Which
uh,
we've
which we're
established
doing,
that.
so.
We've given direction,
I'm-
so all those in favor?
Yeah.
And that is carried. And now we'll move to item 6, adjournment. I now declare this meeting be adjourned at 6:58 PM. Thank you very much, everyone.